Happy Saturday to you. I hope you are having a great Saturday and a great weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion. I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm insanely crazy about. You know the drill. Hop into the comments. Say, hey, where you tuning in from, while I make sure, do a little housekeeping, make sure all the broadcasts are going live like they should be. But hey, if you hop into the comments, you'd help me out a lot because I can see that the broadcast is going live. So hop into the comments. Say, hey, where you tuning in from. Like I said, we are here each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, on the LinkedIn page, the Facebook group, and the website for the show, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. But I always encourage you to jump on over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in, subscribe, hit the bell notification, because there you're able to see all the other past great guests that we've had on the show. Check out all the other great content that goes up on the channel as well. And also, I keep forgetting to put on this confetti here because we're celebrating, like I said, this season here. This is season 5 in 25, 5 years of doing The Color of Motion in 2025. So we're celebrating all season long, doing fun giveaways, contests, and everything. And one of the giveaways that we're doing is, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel during the live show, we will give you a gift. So you will have a gift coming to you if you subscribe to the YouTube channel during the live show, and we'll know, like I said, because the little icon will pop up and let us know that we got a new subscriber. But we're going to be doing fun giveaways all throughout the season, and having a fun time celebrating, like I said, 5 years of doing this show. I can't, couldn't have imagined doing this 5 years. But again, you, the guests, or you, the viewers, and all my great guests for coming on have definitely, made that possible for sure. Let me jump over. I want to make sure that I am broadcasting in the Facebook group as well. Okay, broadcasting in the Facebook group. Want to make sure that the LinkedIn is broadcasting as well. Like I said, it's always a hit or miss. Like I said, if you stuck with me last week, we had some technical difficulties, but again, it's, you roll with it. But you, being the viewers that you are, you always are forgiving and you always stick with it. Also, make sure that you hop on over to the store. The store is open. Pick you up some nice gifts, some swag items, something, The Color of Motion gear. We're always putting new stuff. And actually, like I said, we got new stuff, like I said, coming up on there because, we got a new logo, new look and everything, some new assets. So that gear will be coming up. Like I said, there's a lot of new things happening within the show. I'll probably, again, do another kind of impromptu Color of Motion live just to update everybody. Again, the audio platform, we're working hard on. Audio platform is going to be coming out first quarter. A new newsletter for the show, and great online content is going to be coming out for the show as well. So all that is, we're working very hard first quarter to get all of that stuff out. So I'm super excited. Miss Maggie, appreciate you tuning in there as always. Good afternoon to you there. All right. Like I said, this is a celebration year. I'm super, super excited about my next guest. We connected really kind of recently, and she stepped in and jumped on scheduling an episode. So super excited to sit down with my next guest and have a really, really great conversation. We were almost having an interview before the interview, before we started. So I felt I got a lot of questions to ask, and I know you will too. So you're definitely going to like what's coming up next. I would say we're about ready to get started, eh? Yeah, baby, we are back and ready to get kicked off. So, without further ado, my next guest is a Nigerian screenwriter with about 16 years' experience writing for both live action and animation. She started out writing for Nigerian film and TV shows and was story editor for 10 years on Nigeria's longest running soap, Tinsel, before moving on to write on animation shows like Netflix's Supa Team 4, Disney's Kiya and the Kimoja Heroes, and BBC's Boy, Girl, Dog, Cat, Mouse, and Cheese. She also teaches writing for animation where she gets to infect others with her love for storytelling. She even got a university in Nigeria to take her seriously and attach a certificate from Pan Atlantic University to her course last year. And she also loves comedies. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Omotunde Akiode. And I know she's gonna, really correct me on that. She's she's graciously allowed me to call her Omo. I'm gonna call her Omo. Omo, thank you for
Um,
joining us.
Thank you for having me. You mean like 16 years? Damn, I'm old.
No, you are just getting started. No, this is old. You see the gray hair? This is old. No, but I am super excited to sit down with you. Like I said, can't wait. And was super excited to get connected with you in the first place. And always enjoy sitting talking with writers. I don't consider I have ideas and stories, but I'm always appreciative of those ones that can really lay it out in a form. It's different than writing out. You can have ideas in your head, but to write it out and have it laid out in a form is a skill and gift in and of itself. So I love writers.
Yeah, thank you.
So I always like to start. What was it that kind of got the bug for you, or what was it that bit you that kind of got you going and really interested in this path that you're on?
Okay, so now get it's a bit of a history lesson because I think I was, will I say born with it? Because I know that from the age of 5, or I grew up watching TV like Muppet Show, Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and Sesame Street basically taught me how to read. So, and
Read.
I've always been obsessed. Yeah, because I know when I was 5, I wanted to be a clown because I wanted to make people laugh. I've always been silly. Like, I've always been that
That's a
person. Like,
good thing to
just,
have. That's a good trait to have, a sense of humor.
yeah, I always wanted to make people laugh or entertain. It was always kind of like my thing. And I found out that, like, I'd always want, like, when a movie or something ends, the end credits, like, oh, who wrote this? Or, oh, this guy's directing this again. I was always interested. And then in story, because my mom, she had all of us reading at a very early age. She'd buy this Enid Blyton storybooks. So there was always like something to read or story. So we're always like into stories. And I always took it for granted. I didn't, I just felt like, oh, okay, I love stories. And then I read novels, and it was so bad because when in Nigeria you are meant to read something serious like medicine or law or engineering or something. So I was in science class. I was studying. Well, the plan was to be an architect or an engineer or something. So I had to drop literature, but because I liked stories so much, I would take the literature books of my friends in art class, and then I'd read them, and then I'll tell them the stories, and then they'll go write exams off what I told them and pass.
Oh man.
And yeah, and then I'd go like during the holidays because I was in the boarding school. I'd watch like movies, like things like Coming to America back then or something. And then when I was in school and I would tell them the stories, I'd do it like dialogue for dialogue. And then he says, and then she says, so it's like it's like you're literally reliving the entire film through me. And I
Uh,
spent out, and it was just like my thing. And then, of course, I was always in the drama club, and the one and of course, when I'm in the drama club, I'd rather be behind the scenes planning. Oh, these are the events, or planning the plays, or
yeah,
planning the show. Like, I've always kind of been into showbiz, so
yeah,
I call it, I love showbiz, but I didn't see, well, as at then, I didn't know that there was a path like, oh, there was something like screenwriting. I didn't even know. So I
yeah,
just felt like, oh, it was just something that I'd love to do. But
yeah,
eventually I went and studied architecture.
yeah. And now look at you.
Yeah. And then I finished, I did my master's and everything. And I worked for about a year and I was depressed. I hated it.
Well, that
So
brings me to my other question is obviously you knew how you were personality wise and what you wanted to do. Was that going obviously and you took you went like you just said, got your degree and went to school for architecture, which is kind of a totally different thing. But was that something like a hard thing kind of to get your family to kind of to wrap around that this is kind of the path I want to go. I want to kind of I want to make people laugh. I want to I want to tell stories and that type of thing.
yeah, like when I told my mom that I wanted to like I was quitting my job to become a writer, like I think be, she didn't quite understand because she was like, can't you like do your job and write at the same time? But eventually, but I mean, but they felt like they had no choice but to just let me do my thing. But I
Hmm.
could tell that she was worried, she was concerned. I know my sister was also concerned,
Yeah,
especially when it seemed like the thing was happening for a while. Because the early days when you're kind of trying to find your way and
yeah,
learn, and then because then the plan was I'd learn how to write, and then eventually maybe go into directing someday and just grow from there.
yeah.
And 15 years later, I'm still writing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Well, I mean, was that the thing for you to commit yourself to writing, quitting your job and committing yourself to this is what I wanted to
Yeah,
do, as opposed to,
yeah,
well, I can work and write at the same time, and it's harder, albeit to work a job and then try and pursue your dream at the same time.
yeah,
Was that your conscious decision of, hey, I got to commit and go into this and just you know I got to quit my job and go
yeah.
after this writing
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. I knew I had to commit. Architecture is not the kind of thing you can do. It doesn't give you room to do anything
Mm,
else, and because it's very intense and it's very draining, and so I
yeah,
knew I had to just take that step of faith and just quit and give myself time to be bored and have nothing to do. It was really tough. Like that year was, I won't lie, it was a tough year, but yeah.
well, at that time, I mean, I guess you were still trying to find kind of your voice and kind of who you were.
Yes.
And
And I
what
was
was,
learning
yeah,
screenwriting. I was learning, yeah.
well, what was kind of the biggest, your first initial big eye opening when you were learning this whole writing process?
Well, I realized like there was so much to learn. I mean, I was self-taught. I had screenwriting books and stuff, and I'd go and online and read scripts. So I was like, there was so much to learn, but at the same time, I found it fascinating. So I mean, I enjoyed it. So for me it was just that diving in, and then I joined the drama team of my local church, so we'd come up with plays which I started writing plays for like church drama, like starting small.
Yeah.
just stuff like that. So yeah, for me I just immersed myself, and I loved it really. So I mean, even though I wasn't making anything from it, I just enjoyed it. So that
Yeah.
helped.
Well, I mean, like, which is, like I said, and I guess that's the biggest learning lesson. You just do it. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
you just jump into it and you learn the things that, you should do and shouldn't do. But like I said, for me, it's it's you have ideas in your head, but writing it down as a script wise is, like I said, it's a
Yeah,
different thing when you're writing down conversation between characters
yeah.
and you're writing down story type of thing. And that's hard for me. Like I said, what was that thing that was really challenging for you to figure out? Or at that time, had you at least kind of gotten an overview of just the process of writing, or what it kind of took, or what was that hard thing for you?
Yeah, for me, it was realizing that for screenwriting, there's an entire structure. There's a craft that needs to be learned. Like that's the reason why we have screenwriting courses in school. Like you can have all the great ideas in the world, but it's which is why my architecture degree eventually came in handy
Oh
because
yeah.
there's the creative side that's coming up with the stories, but now
Mm-hmm.
it has to be structured. Like there's a difference between writing for film and even writing for stage and writing
Yeah.
for radio and writing a novel, like and they all have their different structures and things, and it seems like rules and regulations, but it actually helps to craft it in a way that makes it optimal for whatever medium
Yeah.
it's going to play out eventually. And you need to learn those rules and learn those things to see why they work, because there's a reason why they work.
Yeah.
And then the formatting, I mean, even down to using screenwriting software and learning to write
Yeah.
scripts and the formatting of those scripts, that a page equals roughly about a minute of screen time. And then there are some things you do, which is why I actually started teaching, because I realized a lot of people have stories and they have ideas, and then they write it down, and I was like, no, this will work well for a novel, but for a screenplay, no.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And
like
see, that's
and,
what I
and
mean. You have it in your head, but you don't know if it translates down, like you said, into a
Yeah,
screenplay.
but it's a craft that you learn. Like people go to school to learn these things. It's
Yeah.
easier for me because I've been doing it now for
Oh
almost
wow.
two
Yeah.
decades. So it's almost like, yeah. But it's something that I had to learn o- um on my own, and then studying and uh f- reading other screenplays of great films,
Yeah.
classics, and then there are various tools and things that I use within those, like for you just watching it as a regular audience, you may not notice, and that shows it's a great story because you didn't notice these gimmicks and these things that were done
Yeah.
and stuff. But you being it's almost like music, right? How some riffs and some notes are put in at some strategic moments to make the song even better. And
Yeah.
if you're into sound production and everything, you understand and you know the psychology behind it. But for us that were just enjoying the music, we're like, oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. 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 You don't really think about it. Like I said, it
Yeah, we don't
is.
think about it. You just enjoy it. Yeah.
You just enjoy. You enjoy the whole thing as a whole. Mr. Bryce, Mr. Jerry Rice,
Yeah.
looking great.
Hey.
Omotunde, he
Hi, Jerry.
says.
Oh, he's so sweet. Yeah, we worked together on the PBS show on Weather Hunters. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah, Jerry, I gotta have you back on soon, brother, for sure. You're doing some amazing stuff. So I appreciate you stopping back by. Mr. Bryce was gracious enough. I think season one he was on, maybe
Oh,
season two.
yeah, he's
Jerry was on
he's
early, man. You would be a great director and an awesome showrunner. Yep.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
Awesome, awesome. Like I said, so many questions. Because you did say, you know, there are these differences, between, obviously comedy, obviously, drama, animation, live action. There's different, and you've done both. What, and you started out doing, writing for live. You said,
Yeah.
what was it that you picked up or that you learned from, writing for live action that kind of helped you as you transition into writing for animation?
Okay, so for me, um, writing for live action, I mean, writing on a soap, my biggest negative feedback was I'm a bit much. Like, and I'm always going into the bushes with my ideas.
I guess over here we might say the weeds.
Like, so for me, when I got the chance to write for animation, it was like, finally I can be as crazy as I want.
I found my calling. I found my calling.
Yes,
Yes. Oh man. I
yes,
think
because
yeah. If you have that kind of, like I said, mind like yours, it's just elastic and just, you just think of all kinds of stuff, then yeah, animation is probably the space for you because you're not
yeah,
bound by a lot of things that live action would allow you to do or write.
yeah, live action, you have to be realistic because it needs to be plausible, especially well, there are specific rules of the story world that you're telling for the specific story that you're telling, so you kind of have to work within the rules of that world. There's
Yeah.
what more called the story world, the world of story, and you kind of have to play within that world. And especially for live action, where you're being as realistic because you want your characters to be believable. You want the audience to be able to watch those characters and be like, oh, that sounds like someone I know, or yeah, I can relate, or I know someone that has gone through this, so it makes it realistic. But I tend to push it a little bit. Because it's more interesting. Like, who goes to watch something because it's realistic? Come on.
Oh man. So
And then I think, yeah, I think my love for comedy as well, like this,
yeah,
the sense of the
obviously.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of bring that in as well. So
Yeah.
because I know my feedback, the head writer will be like, okay, this is a bit much. Okay, calm down, tone it down.
You might need to reel it in a little, reel it in a little. But then again, like I said, I think obviously, for you, there's a certain style that you like that works for you. And I was having this conversation with um, Alice Zhang, I think last week. And she's, you know, producer at Titmouse. But they have a certain style of animation, real adult humor style. Most of their stuff, they do other things, but most of their stuff is really kind of highbrow humor type of thing, type of animation stuff. And so your humor would really lend well to those type of like really highbrow, kind of edgier, like you said, in the bushes type of stuff.
Yeah. And I just love comedy. Like, I love comedy so much that I actually so I did a master's in comedy writing with Falmouth University in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's how much I love comedy.
Yeah. Well, I hear that's really good for writers taking improv, comedy improv is really, that's what I
It-
hear. And I know a few animators that have taken improv, to really get them good at like improvisational skills and stuff like that. So
yeah.
something I would love, thought about doing, taking a comedy
Yeah.
course.
But yeah, but a comedy course is more than improv. It's almost like breaking down the science behind the comedy. Like, what makes something funny?
Yeah.
Like, comedy is hard, and
So
it's
who's
not
your
not
favorite
some people
though?
just are naturally.
Who would you say your
My
favorite
favorite comedian,
Yeah.
um, John Cleese,
Okay.
Basil Fawlty's. Okay, let's put it this way, I am in love with British comedy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
different. Obviously, it's a different, kind of dry humor type of,
yeah,
at least from our perspective.
this sarcasm and like the witty
Yeah,
sarcasm kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I really love that. In the US, I'm not sure. I think it's a mix of different things. I like funny enough, I actually like Adam Sandler. But I mean, of course, you cannot. First of all, I need to back the great Eddie Murphy, like that kind of comedy.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I think I just anything that can make you laugh, the sense of irony or the sense
yeah,
of
yeah.
just being able to,
I'm
yeah,
kind of like I said. Eddie Murphy. Obviously, Richard Pryor was a big,
Yeah,
influence.
the
Red
greats. Yeah.
Fox was a big one. I kind of like. Oh man, uh, he was a real cerebral comedian. I
Yes, and
forget
that's
his
the thing.
name.
Comedy requires a lot of cerebral thinking because
Yeah,
it's basically taking real life situations, seeing the irony and the twists, and then being able to like draw comedy out of it. For me,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that requires
That's an art. It
some
really
deep.
is an art. Yeah, it
Yeah,
really is art.
yeah.
Yeah. So trust me. I don't take it lightly because a master of that. I've seen bad comedians, but I've also seen
Mm.
really good ones. Like I said, Richard Pryor was really. He was like a master at taking really.
Oh, Jerry says he does stand up
Yeah,
sometimes.
Jerry. I can imagine Jerry, Mr. Jerry. Everybody just jumping in. We're having an amazing conversation with my friend Omo here, animation screenwriter extraordinaire. I do stand up. Yeah, I can imagine that, Jerry. You doing stand up for sure. Co-created the series and was supervising producer for 35 out of the 40 of the first season episodes. Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I always tell people it's a big industry, but it really is small. People know each other
Yeah,
and have worked with each
yeah.
other and have done, type of things. Um, I'm curious. You mentioned in your bio that, you got Africa to even give you a certificate. Is that a challenge? Do you see that as one of the big challenges that is really kind of holding not just Nigeria but Africa kind of back as far as the industry really growing there? Is more people taking it seriously?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because the well, I know at least for us in Nigeria, and I think Africa generally, we like degrees and certificates because we come from our parents always wanted us to go to school and learn something and earn a degree. So if you're able to have a degree from a university to say, okay, you have in this, then your parents would be like, oh, okay, maybe they're onto something.
Yeah,
It's more psychological than anything else because um if like okay, so I have my master's from Falmouth University in comedy writing, and everyone I tell when I speak to producers, I'm like, oh wow, fine, that must have been a lot of work. Well done. Can we see any samples of stuff you've written?
it's always what it comes down to. We want to see the work.
Yeah, your degree doesn't count for much in the
Yeah,
real world for writing. I don't know about maybe other courses, maybe in the medicine or engineering or
yeah,
something, maybe. But in something like I think showbiz generally, people want to see your work, your
yeah,
portfolio, like what you've worked on, or your
yeah,
spec scripts, even. Like they want to see what you can do as opposed to, okay, we went to this school and we came out with this degree. But I think psychologically it also helps because so for me, why I did that course was so I've been in Nigeria and I've been writing I mean, I started out writing in Nigeria, but I always wanted to be known as a good writer who just happens to be Nigerian, as opposed to I'm a good Nigerian writer because
yeah,
we have our Nollywood over here,
yeah.
which has its challenges, and I'm the first to call us out on our crap.
That's good.
So
Hey,
I know, I know. Hey, it is what it is.
it
So
is
I
what it
like we
is.
have great concepts, but the development, and there's a lot that we don't do properly here. And I know that someone that's coming from the outside will probably watch a typical Nollywood film and be like, I don't know, I don't know. Okay, so we had this experience. So there's this series MTV Sugar that was done in Nigeria. It started out in Kenya and then there's South Africa. And I know when they first came to Nigeria, because they had been seeing Nollywood, they thought that we writers would need a lot of training because, and then most of us have been writing on Tinsel by then. So they was people in the BBC
Mm-hmm.
that they came in and prepared to train us Nigerian writers in the whole screenwriting and everything. So when we sent in the first draft of scripts, the feedback was this is actually good, and we're like, yeah. What are you thinking?
We can write, we do know how to. Well, I mean,
But
so do you feel like that's the thing? They don't think that you can produce the quality that you can. Do you think that's the
yes,
outside consensus that
yes,
creators
no,
in
no, really.
Africa can't produce the quality?
I I honestly believe so, and because that's and I think that's what's limiting. Because and then because a lot of the stories that we do produce, I see the limitations. Like, okay, it was it started out good, but it could have gone better here. So I see there's a difference between a typical Nigerian movie story, and if you're comparing it with a Hollywood film or even an Asian film or an Indian film in terms of story. Now,
Yeah,
yes, I know that we don't have the funding or the budget to do like this big effect, but I'm talking like even in the story and the way it's developed, like there's 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 a big difference, and
yeah,
we will not be honest if we don't admit it. So that for me was a concern. So I was always I didn't want to be that writer that, oh, because I'm limited in this world, like I can't write B. So I was always wanting to be like that international standard writer, which was
mm-hmm.
I think why I eventually just did that course, just to prove to myself that I'm just as good as anyone in the world.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that was
yeah,
just
yeah.
for me. The MA in comedy writing was really just for me, and I think that's why I was also grateful when my agent met with me and she. Well, before then, there's before I got to the agent in the US, because I kind of need to tell you how I got into writing for animation. So I was writing on the this daily soap, and then we were being trained by South Africans at the time because it was a Nigerian South African collaboration thing. But eventually the South Africans left. So the story coordinator, she reached out that she wanted to start her own company that was doing children's shows. So they were going to train some of us into writing specifically for children. And am I interested? And I was like, duh. So she introduced me to the South African lady. She has her own company, the Storyteller Port. I'm doing a bit of a shout out here. Her name is Natasha, and so she was training. Um, and that's what she does. Her courses. She teaches writing for children's animation specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and where you do spec you. And the way she's well, then the way she structured the classes was we'll pick an existing show and study it and break it down, and then you write a spec script of that show. And I went through all the three modules, and we became such good friends. And when she read my first script that I sent in, this was literally her reaction. She read it, and there was a pause, and she was like, goodness.
Well, now some people could take that the wrong way. Some people could take that with a sense of humor. Other people could take it like, "What? You didn't think we could write that good, or that type of
No,
thing,
but
type of thing?"
I
Or
didn't, I didn't take it personally because I knew what I knew what we were producing.
yeah,
Like, so I didn't, so I knew. Like, so and then by the end of the module, she was like, you know what, you shouldn't be you should be teaching. So she dragged me in. By the next year I was teaching in the course, teaching
yeah.
other people writing.
And obviously, I mean, that's a lot for you. I mean, moving from writing to now all of a sudden teaching people,
Yeah,
to write. What was, like I said, you said they trained you in writing for children. What was the big
yeah.
eye opener? What was that big eye opener first thing that you learned when you started learning to write for children? What was that? Like, oh, okay, I get it.
The first thing I learned was that children have very little attention spans compared to adults, and they're not as forgiving as adults are. If the show sucks, they're switching off. It's that simple. Especially now, you have your iPad, they have like five different devices in front of them. So if your show is not good enough, they're not gonna give it a chance and be like, oh, let's see.
Yeah,
Mm-mm. No, they're switching off immediately. So you have to like get them from the get go. You have to engage them right from the start. And your comedy skills, it's crucial in writing for children because it's especially the younger they are. it's very comedy based,
Mm-hmm.
because if it's amusing and it's funny, then it gets their attention. And at the same time, of course, you have to put in the learning things, because as your children, you're nurturing, right? So you have to still kind of teach without being teachy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
kind of
it's, yeah, that's a
hidden,
challenge.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to put it undercover that you're teaching them.
Yeah.
Well, and see, that's why I
So
said, and I don't know if y'all got it over there, but like over here, um, like when I was young, like in between the Saturday morning cartoons, it had like little, animated shorts. And Schoolhouse Rock was really big, and they
mm,
were just little shorts, but they were like um, school lessons put to music. So you can learn how how the government works. Like, I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill sitting here on Capitol Hill.
oh
That you learn something, but you weren't thinking that you were learning anything
mm,
because you were just so enthralled with the music and the animation and
yeah,
everything.
that was really cool.
And that's what showed me the power of what animation and cartoons could really do. It can really
Yeah.
educate you or treat you or teach you in some really subtle ways that you aren't even
Yeah.
aware
Like,
of.
yeah, Sesame Street literally taught me how
Yeah.
to read.
Sesame Street.
Bussstop spells buster.
I don't think there's too many people, and that's a big testament to Jim Henson. There's not too many
Yeah.
kids that haven't grown up on Sesame Street. That's a big testament. And like I said, it was really engaging because their thing was they didn't talk down to kids. They really talked to kids at their level, but at a level they could understand. So makes it such a powerful medium for sure, Mister White. I want to go back to your other quote here because this is a long one here. There is, in fact, a predisposition in let's see, Western world to assume the Nigerian and African writers at large are not trained or skilled to write at level of experienced Hollywood writers, which is not the reality. Yeah, totally. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people. It's totally not the reality. Just the
Yeah.
perception of Omotunde and her agent are fighting. Yeah, and not just you. I hear the same thing from every creator that I've had on from the continent is, yeah, most people think, we can't produce the quality of stories and things like that. Now, albeit obviously, you Africa deals with, difference as far as resources, and
Yeah.
having the
There is that. Yeah.
resources to do things. Can you speak on that? Because like I said, I'm amazed at the quality that does come out with the
Yeah.
challenges that you do have to deal with that we don't necessarily think about over here.
Yeah. That is so true. Like, if you know how much a movie is made, how much is used to make a movie, and you'd be like, how? So, it's one of the challenges, and that's the reason why we don't have the luxury of time. A lot of
Uh-huh.
times, some of those films, maybe the script was, I know of films that the script was written in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're writing a movie in 2 weeks, I mean, how much detail can you put in that? So it's just a rushed job, and you put in a few known faces and just put it out there, and hopefully it makes his money back, because there's limited budgeting and funding for everything. So I think it's a bit of, initially when it started out, it's because we started out with the home video kind of thing, where you just shoot it and put it on home video, and there was very little money in it at the time. But
Mm.
I think it's growing. I mean, it's definitely changing. Our stories are becoming more in depth and more detailed. There's some really nice stories that are coming out, so we're growing in terms of our storytelling, and even the quality that's coming. It's still, but I mean, it's still nowhere near what Hollywood or even
Yeah.
Bollywood or
Yeah.
what's
Well,
the
I mean, is that
Korean.
the
It's
consensus
not.
of
Yeah.
is that the consensus of the mark you're trying? that you're trying to hit there, or are you just trying to tell the stories and the industry over there be what it is over there? Or I mean, obviously, Hollywood, and how Disney and all of that. Those are the things that most of the world has seen and grown up
Yeah.
on. Those type of things. So those are the standards they're shooting for. But as a creator over there, are you thinking, those are the types of stories that you're wanting to tell, or you're just, you know, using it as a kind of stepping stone to get the infrastructure and the learning behind you? Because there's a lot of studios like Disney, like Sony coming over there, partnering with,
Yeah.
studios over there to tell stories like Kizazi Moto and Yana, those type of things like that. Do you feel like that's the thing that's needed, is help with outside help, I guess, with building up that
Yeah.
infrastructure?
Yeah, I think it really helps. I mean, we'll take anything we can get at this point. So, inside, outside help. But I also think we also need to, like, I'm in the children's TV space, and we don't really have a lot of that going on in Africa
Really?
generally, because the focus is more on Nollywood, the movies, the films, adult stuff. So there's not much focus being done to children. There's it's little bits and pieces here and there because it's expensive and it's time consuming. And like I said, children are not as forgiving, so there has to be more attention to the story. You can't just do some lame show and the children don't like it, they're going to switch off. Sorry, not
Uh,
sorry.
uh,
It is what it is. So a lot of times when we have this, when we watch cable or even the local shows, you find out that a lot of the shows are like maybe a Disney show or a Nickelodeon show, or you have your Disney channels and your Nickelodeon channels, and you don't really have a lot of indigenous content for kids
yeah,
compared to what we are importing. Because I know, like, there are kids in Nigeria who speak with a foreign accent and they've never been abroad
yeah,
because they grew up watching Disney and Nickelodeon and
yeah,
all
yeah,
that. Yeah, that's how serious it is. I speak for Nigeria. I don't know about other African countries, but I
yeah,
know that in Nigeria they're literally kids. And I've spoken to some TV execs that they want some of our like our culture, like they want kids to grow up and watch shows that showcase our culture and a lot of the things that they would love to pass on to kids. So I think the awareness is now coming that, okay, we need to create our own stuff. We can't keep outsourcing our children's
yeah.
entertainment to um,
Well, do you see
foreign.
more of that happening? And are you pick, because we talked a little bit about Annecy, before the show. Is that the consensus of what you're kind of getting from other creators outside the country? Is they're wanting now, and they're seeing this kind of turn of, creating, our own stories within our own country and building
Yeah.
up the infrastructure within our own country?
Yeah, so the good news is that there's a lot of interest in different series. Like Hollywood wants something different.
Yeah,
And that's why Disney did the whole Iwaju series. And that's the reason for Kiya, the whole idea of Kiya, even though it's still westernized a bit, is the idea of, okay, let's see what we can come bring out of Africa. 'Cause Africa is like this potentially rich continent in terms of mining stuff,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they're not really sure how to navigate it
And
because
that's what
they are
I'm
not really sure.
careful. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what I'm careful of. Really do want to get across. Stress is, you know, it is, and I realize we always realize that's Africa's a rich country, not just in people and stories, but in resources
yeah,
and everything. Why do you
yeah.
think? Why do you think every nation is over in Africa? Africa, but I'm encouraged now that, and I want to ask you this as well. Starting to take control of, hey, we want to work with you, but we're not trying to, we're on an even playing field as far as the stories that we tell, and, you distributing or helping us distribute our stories out to the world in a bigger
Mm.
market type of thing. Do you feel like this time now that we live in is kind of driving that change of how studios are or approaching creators, because we have our own channels, we have social media now, we have streaming platforms, we have
Yes,
all these
yes,
platforms now that we can get our stories and content out there. Is that another thing that you're seeing when you're talking to people over
yes.
at Annecy, that they're starting to see people are consuming content in so many different ways now?
Yeah, yeah. And that's amazing because now we are more empowered to tell our own stories without having to be limited by
Yeah.
Western sensibilities. Let me give you one example. When we were there are some things you do in Africa that it's normal, okay? But if you had to say it maybe from a Western point of view, it might be a bit, I don't know, like this was okay, like this was an example when we're working on Super Team 4. It's a
Mm-hmm.
story based in Zambia, okay? Zambian superheroes, and then they are schoolgirls, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there was a story part where eventually it was changed, but originally it was like, oh, a schoolboy goes to the girl's house because she needs help in her art project, and so he came over. So and then were female writers on the team, and then so originally because it was Western head writer and all that, so the boy just comes over, and then they're in the father's garage, and then the boy has a crush on the girl,
Yeah.
but she doesn't know. So they are there together, and then the father is there, and then we girls were like, in Africa. So this is where Africa is a country. Okay, there is no way a boy will come to my house and my father. Like how? Like, and I thought, and this was we're talking about. We had Nigerian writers, we had Ghanaian,
Yeah.
Zambian, South African, Uganda. Like we had Sierra Leone, and all of us agreed that no.
Well, and to my point is, do you find that as a challenge too when working with, say, outside, studios outside of Africa that you're writing for, that are
Yeah.
wanting
So
it, that
yeah.
find
So
that
so
balance
yeah.
of this
Yeah,
doesn't
we
fly.
had to, so we had to tone some things down. I think I kind of I me doing the comedy thing. So the boy was super respectful, but then you could see the father being very threatening. I'm like, yes, I'm looking at you, people. Yeah, but even that, the feedback we got from the Western execs was they felt it was a bit too threatening, and
Too
we
threatening.
we yeah, because the father was being a bit threatening with the boy, like you better behave yourself while you're talking to my daughter, kind of thing.
Well,
But we were
wouldn't any
like, that's
father?
normal.
Yeah, wouldn't
Like,
any father?
like what do you mean threatening? Like what? You see, that's the African in you talking because that.
Well, I wouldn't even say, like I said, depending on who it was, I don't know who the executives were, whether they were white or
Yeah,
whether they were black. I think if they were black executives, they'd be thinking the same thing. Wouldn't any father be thinking the same?
yeah, yeah. They were white executives.
Not saying that, but obviously that goes
But
into the whole base of writing a story with characters. You want
yeah,
somebody in there
yeah.
that's authentic to,
To the whatever culture is,
yeah, to whatever
so your
culture
culture
you're
plays.
writing the story
Yeah,
along with.
yeah. So there are little things like that. So if you have your own platform where you can tell your stories your own way, you can throw in a bit more of your
Hmm.
sensibilities. So there's this thing and Nigeria just seems to be taking the world by storm in our music, in our feel like everyone all of a sudden they want to identify with pidgin English and where we do things, and because we are unashamedly Nigerian, like now eh, we are here.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's nothing you can do
yeah,
about it.
yeah. I tell you,
You
man,
know,
it's always been like I said, I always say Africa's always been on my bucket list. Yeah, have you ever been to you've been to the States, right? Have you?
No,
You haven't been to the
funny enough
States?
now, but yeah, but it is on my. I actually was thinking this might be the year I might visit, but it's still early in the year
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
have friends in the
yeah,
US plus my agent. Like
yeah,
they've
yeah,
been
yeah,
wanting me
yeah.
to come
And
visit since forever.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
I
that's why
keep
I
telling
love
them
doing the
this
that's why I
next
love
year.
doing
Yeah.
the show because I have friends now over in Africa, have made friends,
Yes.
over in Africa. And I tell them that's Africa is always on my bucket list because I don't think you, like I said, you have to. I tell people you almost have to travel outside of the country to really get
Yeah.
a perspective of how other people, one, live, and then two, view your perspective. Because they're not the same. We all think they are, but they're not. Really, type of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Rice always has a lot to say. Many countries
Yeah.
have laws requiring local content to be produced to preserve. Yeah, obviously, because I saw a post. Somebody there was I think it was in Britain or the UK. The position that they were
Mm,
posted about on LinkedIn, but he clearly said, "Hey, we want UK citizens because we get this break, from obviously employing UK citizens is the thing,
yeah.
which is my thing as far as asking you, do you feel like that's another thing that Africa as the government is going to kind of need to get behind as far as
Yes. Yes.
really giving these incentives?
Yeah, I think so because that way we can have more African creatives being part of the process and having more of a say in the African stories that come out, which is very very important. Like I feel like there needs to be more of artistic control for like let Africans tell
Yeah,
stories it's the way it's meant to be told or authentically. But I do understand at the end of the like I understand the economics behind it that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So I get it. I get it. But I feel like maybe if there's a bit more control with the creatives, we can tell more authentic stories because look at Korea, South Korean stories, how they are funding their thing and they're telling the stories their own way.
yeah,
And the world didn't, instead, the world is like, oh, they're fascinated. Oh, okay, this is how things are done over there. And
yeah,
it's fascinating. And I think even our like going back to Nollywood and our music industry, when it first started out, it was like but well, people were not sure, but now Nigerians are winning Grammys for
yeah,
singing songs, and when we do our music in Nigeria, no one thinks, oh, will this be understood by someone who doesn't? No, we
yeah,
just do the song,
yeah,
and if you like it, you like it, and you will eventually learn to understand it. And now
yeah.
people are apparently they are learning how to speak pidgin English just so they can understand our songs better. So
Oh man. But no, like I said, if you like it, you like it, and
yeah.
be true to yourself,
Yeah,
who you are.
unashamedly who you are, and
Yeah,
whoever likes you will like you. So, and I
yeah,
think which is what we are coming up with in our stories, because I see a lot of times when we Africans we try hard to westernize our stories. I am
yeah.
coming
Well, I
from
think
the
I
I'm
think that
coming.
a lot of countries do that. They try and westernize because the Western culture, is just. So they try and feel like that's the standard that they gotta kind of shoot for. But
Yeah,
you
but
got those
it's not
ones though.
realistic.
But
It's not
then I,
realistic.
Well, I think you got those ones. I think the thing is supporting your base because, like
Yeah.
you said, Asia, Korea, they do their thing, but they know, like I said, and they're not trying to kind of mesh into the Western culture, even though they speak Western, they still have their own industry, they have their own infrastructure to where they're not, like I said, having to depend on. That's where I mean, where do you feel like that's where Africa is really kind of held back in the sense that they're not, one, controlling their own resources and really um, having the resources benefit the people within the continent of Africa?
Yeah, I think it's more of a structured thing. A lot of things are still kind of like all over the place right now, and some have more quality than others.
Yeah.
And then but I find like whenever we are like the stories that seem to be the biggest in coming out of Nigeria are stories where it's either being done in a local language, like we have the epic, for example, epic Yoruba drama or Yoruba historical
Hmm.
pieces, and those ones usually are very popular now, or the ones or are Nigerian comedies that are done in pidgin English. And there's this there's a character called Jennifer created by this Nollywood actress, and she's really big everywhere, and she's done like how many seasons of Jennifer, and it's crazy how almost silly it is, but people love it because she's she's not trying to be westernized or anything. But
Yeah.
then, I mean, there's still a lot of technical input into it, and the story, there's storytelling, there's cinematography, there's all that. You could tell there's a lot of money and time and effort that's been put into it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, but it's refreshingly, it doesn't feel like we're trying to be Western in our stories. It feels something like you can relate to, or like,
Yeah.
and then foreigners, when they watch it, they feel like, okay, they're getting a sense of the real Nigeria,
Yeah.
as
Well,
opposed
I
to
think you do.
Africans trying to be Western. Yeah.
Well, I think you do get a sense of you get a sense of the country or the continent's real sense of humor, drama, or whatever it is they try to portray. Because obviously, stuff that the Western imports over here, whether it's shows or movies or things like that, they're kind of westernized, as
Yeah.
you know. So a lot of like the translation, is coming because, like I said, I think there's been a bunch of comedy shows that originally started from Britain and were brought over, like The
Mm,
Office. When they brought The
yeah.
Office was originally a Britain, comedy
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
but then they translated it over to the Office version over here, and obviously the sensibility of the comedy that they were writing is different, or
Yeah.
try to be different. So that type of thing, um, which leads me to ask you the question of one: have you or would you think about like adapting a book or a screenplay, into a screenplay?
Yeah. I mean, it's
And
hard,
yeah, and the
but
challenge of
depends
doing
on
that.
it depends on the story being told. Actually, it depends on so many things, or on the specific story being told.
Um,
But yeah,
now,
it's always an interesting challenge. Yeah.
yeah. Now, is there? You said you love obviously you have a flavor for comedy, that type of thing. Is there any other style that you would love to kind of sink your teeth into as far as story and characters? Maybe like horror or sci-fi
Um,
or something like that.
Sci-fi, yes. Sci-fi is the next thing after comedy for me. It would be sci-fi. I grew up reading science fiction books, so I love sci-fi. In fact, my most successful play was literally in Nigerian sci-fi, which was unheard of at the time. Like
Now
I
that I would
literally
love
did
to
it like
see. I would love this.
us.
And to your point, let me ask you, what do you see is the difference as far as humor and style? Like I said, you worked on a Nigerian soap opera. And I'm pretty sure you've probably seen Western soap operas type of
Yeah.
thing. What do you see as kind of some of the different flavors that are just obviously noticeable to you? That's just different.
Well, the first thing I'd say is in terms of sensibilities, in the Western world, there's more, um, maybe the word for it is cute. Like it's more laid back. Everyone is all proper. You don't raise your voice too much. It's like that's the sensibility. It's tame.
Mm,
In Nigeria, unless maybe because unless maybe the very rich, the super rich. But even then, I have my doubts. But because I know that the average Nigerian, we are loud, we are brash, we are
I
very
know some Nigerians.
expressive.
They're really, I won't say loud, but I will say forthright.
We are loud. It's okay. You can say it. We are loud. And we are very passionate. Like when we are excited about, like someone said something, like so you hear two Nigerians talking and you're not sure if they're in a fight or if they're just excited about
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna have to wait it out and
I learned that quickly about when I was working for an island person from Trinidad, and his
mm.
friends were, he would have all of his friends were island people, so they would come to his shop, and just sit and talk. But they'd have these heated conversations, and like you said, you think they're arguing, but
Yeah,
so
so we're very, it's just like we're very passionate. So when we watch the shows, there's a lot of, sometimes yelling or, energetic behavior and, you know, just that it's almost like over the top
mhm.
sometimes. And people in the West might think we're like, come on, they can't really live that way. And then they come to Africa and they're like, oh crap, they do live that way.
I tell you, I literally cannot wait to get to come over there. Like I said, that is definitely the first place on my bucket list is Africa, and different places
Yeah.
in Africa. So like I said, it's funny. It is so funny. Oh, we're getting off into these large conversations. I want to jump over for sure and show you some of Omo's work for sure. Like I said, we've been having everybody just jumping in. We've been having an amazing conversation with my friend Omotunde, animation screenwriter extraordinaire. We're getting ready to take a look at some of her, some of the shows that she's written for sure. Sanford and Son was originally,
Oh,
Sanford and Son was originally a British
wow.
comedy,
I didn't know that.
yeah, but Omotunde is correct, in my opinion here. They're more authentic and more Western, westernized, the better it will do
Yeah.
worldwide. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing that I don't know. Jerry, you can chime in on that, but I see it seems like that's kind of the fear that a lot of studios here in the U.S. are worried about, especially on those international things. Do they feel like
Yeah.
it'll have international appeal? It
Peel. They
may do
worry
well
about that.
here, yeah,
Yeah,
because they
which
were
to me
worried
is
about that
ridiculous.
with, yeah. Well, they, like I said, I don't know. Like I said, and you can kind of give your take on it. I guess people have asked you this enough, and that's what they were worried about with doing Black Panther. Will people outside of the U.S. really want to watch a black superhero, and especially over in Africa? Will it really do well?
Duh! Please, you should have seen how excited we were.
Well, but I have had, like I said, and I've asked people, and I've asked a lot, especially a lot of obviously African guests, what was your take on it, and did you think it was really authentic to Africa, even though it was a sci-fi and fantasy superhero thing? Were there elements, obviously, that they tried to carry over of the African culture that resonated with you as an African watching it? Type of thing. And a lot
Mm,
of them was their big thing was the accents, which I kind of get. You know,
yeah.
they weren't really too pleased with the accents and how the accents kind of, And I
Yeah.
think we over here kind of generalize an African accent. You know, we don't distinguish that there's very varied amounts of languages and accents over in Africa. We just kind of clump it in with that South African dialect that it's
Yeah.
type of thing. I think we do. Somebody else over here
Yeah.
might think differently, but like I said,
No, you're right.
I don't think too many people over here could distinguish the nuances between the African dialect unless you were African.
Yeah. Yeah, which is totally correct. Which is, but so, and I get that because like from you guys' point of view, oh, that was an African story from. We were like, where's this person supposed to be from? And then even the South African is like, because even in South Africa there are different tribes.
Yeah,
Do you, in okay, let's use it. In Nigeria alone, we have 250
Yeah.
ethnic tribes.
Yeah.
Then we have three main ones. So we don't technically they claim that there's no such thing as a Nigerian accent, but I think there kind of is ish. But because someone would listen to me and be like, "Oh, you sound like you're from the Igbo tribe, or you sound like you're from Yoruba tribe." If a Hausa person came to Hausa, I'm like, "Okay, that person is Hausa," but that's because we know the nuances. We live here,
Yeah. You
so.
know
But
the
if you're from,
nuances.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's up to us to express those nuances and educate the world. I mean, the world couldn't possibly know. So I feel like that's on us, which is why I feel like we have to tell our stories more and we have to bring in those nuances. Like, because I grew up watching Hollywood, I know a Southern accent from a New York accent, and
Mm,
I've never been to the US.
yeah.
I know even in the UK, I know the Queen's English
Mm,
accent different from a Cockney accent
yeah.
because we grew up watching these shows.
Yeah.
Because so it's up to us to let them know that, okay, I sound like a Yoruba man. No, you sound like an Igbo man. Like so it's up to us. Like, we are the ones, so we have. So there's a responsibility on us, which
Yeah.
I love, because when you have responsibility, you have power.
Yeah.
So we're not just always asking for help. We have a lot to offer the
Yeah.
world as well. So it's not. I see it more like a partnership, where people are coming to partner with us to help us tell our stories, but we are bringing something really, really important. So yeah, it's a bit of a two-way street the way I see it.
No, definitely, I agree. And like I said, I want to show some of the stuff that Omo has worked on for sure. It's not showing up. Hold on. Is that it? There we go. Oh man, uh, this title, I
Yeah,
tell
you
you.
love this. I know, right?
Boy, girl, dog, cat, mouse, cheese. This looks like a fun project to work
It
on and
is.
write on.
It is, and it was like it's an amazing show.
So tell
And
me,
of course, yeah,
no, I was gonna
strong in
say,
comedy, but I didn't need to tell you that. Like,
yeah,
strong.
yeah. I kind of thought it was a drama out of me. But tell me though, uh, just a little background about boy girl, what it's about, kind of how you kind of got on it and it came about.
Okay, so I had written, like, I remember the thing I did with the South African,
Yeah.
where I did spec scripts. So there was so it was in three modules, and the third module is a comedy show to show your comedy skills. So I had this spec script, which my agent really loved, and she sent it around to a bunch of places, including the guys doing this show, and she got me on because they really liked that spec script because they liked the comedy in it, and they felt like, oh, okay, with your comedy skills, you'll be perfect for this show. so
Oh
so that's
man.
how I got to write on the show, and the show really is it's a silly show. Like, the boy is called boy, the girl is called girl, and it's like this blended family
Hey, it is
where
what
they all
it
live.
is what it says it is. Boy, girl, dog,
Got it.
mouse.
Cat, mouse, cheese. They live together, and then they have adventures together, and then they have their personalities, and crazy
Oh
things always
man.
happen, and it's just a fun show. It's
Yeah,
just
I can imagine it's just like I said, one of those shows that doesn't restrict your imagination, it
yeah,
just lets you kind of just play. Those are the ones
yeah.
that you just love to work on for sure. Kiya and the Kimoja Heroes. This looks like a
Rose,
fun one
yeah.
too. This
Yeah, this
definitely.
was also fun. Yeah, this was so it started in South Africa with Triggerfish Studios. The
Yeah.
creators, I think it went through there's this they did this incubation thing where people would they'll help you create your shows. So, because I know the two of the creators, Mark and oh,
Like
I
a
forgot her name, but
Kickstarter
lady,
thing.
yeah, a Kickstarter thing where, and then it got picked up by Disney and then Watch
Mm,
Next Media. I
Yeah.
think. Was it no Frogbox? I think in France,
Yeah.
because they had this collaboration where it was done by them, and then they had writers. A lot of French writers wrote on it at the time because they had this whole deal in France at the time. And then the head writer, I think she's seen me on LinkedIn,
Mm.
just doing my thing, and then she reached out, and then I got to write on that as well. So
Hey.
that was pretty cool. And then I even got to co-write some episodes with one of the creators, because we just meshed well together,
So,
and we came up with some nice ideas, and yeah,
and
it
I
was
hope
fun.
everybody's picking up on this with what Omo is saying. Just being out there and putting your stuff out there. People will see your
Oh,
stuff and reach out to you.
yep,
And
that's my
you know,
biggest lesson I learned.
yeah,
You
people
can't,
will reach out.
yeah.
So don't hold back from creating your things. Whether it's like I
Hmm.
said, that's why I love this time. If you're a storyteller or idea or a filmmaker, you got all these
Just
channels.
put it out there. Yeah,
Yeah, if you're the type of person that's really driven and want to see your project to fruition, you got all these channels to fund it. Kickstarter, GoFundMe. You got all these things to have people back your project. And again, trust me, if if the executives see that your project is gaining traction, they'll come knocking on your door and want to
yeah,
pick you up. Just like you just said, Kiya, the creators of Kiya did. They came and saw his stuff and reached out.
yeah.
Uh,
And I
so
feel like this might be me getting a little
yeah,
biblical here, but one of my favorite verses is, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So if you're passionate about something, you will not shut up about it. So which is why I'm always like, I try to like, I talk about what I'm passionate about, and it shows, because I love story, or I'm excited about this show, or I worked on this and I'm really excited, so of course I'm going to write about it. And then
yeah,
people see that and they pick up on it, because passion sells.
yeah,
And that's one thing I learned in soaps, writing for soap, is um how do you get the audience to care,
yeah,
or any TV show really, and
yeah,
any kind of into like, why should I care, why can I, how can
yeah,
I relate? Because once you get your audience to care, you've got them.
yeah. Now, and that it really kind of goes into kind of what I also wanted to talk to you about, this whole pitching process, because you have gone and pitched a lot of your stories and stuff like that, and so definitely going into a meeting, the executives and people want to see that you're passionate about the project that you're bringing to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, Jerry's
Mr.
such a
Jerry.
sweetheart.
Yeah, Mr. Jerry's just going all off there. Like Jerry said, hey, I'm with you there, Jerry. I became aware of Omotunde from her posting on LinkedIn as well. That's how I met everybody.
Yeah, just won't
Hey,
shut up.
hey, but if, like I said, if you love what you're doing and you love what you're talking about, it's just it. Like I
Yeah,
said, I love what I talk about here on the show. That's why I can be sitting on here for 2 or 3 hours talking with, I guess, because I love it. I love the industry.
yeah.
Then I hired, then I hired her, Jerry.
Yep.
Uh,
A man of
my
action. I love it.
hey, squeaky wheels gets the like my mama said, closed mouths don't get fed. So
Hmm. Amen.
my
Amen.
mama used to tell me that all the time. Closed mouths don't get fed. So you gotta
Hmm.
be a proponent of your own, whatever it is that you're doing. And like I said,
Yeah.
as long as you're consistent with, trust me, putting your stuff out there,
Yeah.
you don't know
Sooner or
who's
later.
yeah, you don't know who's looking at your stuff and is gonna reach out to you.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just, the beauty of this time that we live in, people. This time that we live in.
Ah,
Josh, maybe you can pronounce it.
Ajoche.
Joche.
Ajoche.
This is a
Yeah.
soap opera, I take it.
It's a telenovela, limited.
Telenovela. Okay. All right.
Yeah, like a limited series. Like, because I
Yeah.
mean, there
Yeah.
was a series finale and stuff. Yeah.
How
This
was
was
it
this was
writing for
really cool.
that?
It was cool. It's one of the shows I love the most. It was like, it's totally indigenous. And it was about one of the minority tribes close to where my mom comes from. So
Oh
I
wow.
named one or two of the characters after a few cousins of mine.
Oh man.
And
Wow.
it was set like before the colonials came in,
Yeah.
so it was like really historical peace drama with all the war and then the action and then the roar. Yeah,
That's
it was
nice.
very
So
yeah,
usually
it was a fun
are the
show.
stuff that you usually write on big productions, small productions, where do they kind of fall? Obviously, over here where they're throwing lots of money at stuff, but the
Yeah.
stuff that you're writing on and doing that's specifically for Africa and indigenous, where do they kind of fall as far as production cost, in the whole thing to produce it?
Yeah, by Nigerian standards, they were high high end.
Yeah.
By Nigerian standards. Yeah, they were pretty high end because we have multi-choice Mnet, which was funding a lot of the shows here, and so they kind of like commission these shows,
Mm,
and then they provide the funding, and then that gives us. And what TV in Nigeria is way more developed than the film because we actually have where you have your story teams and your head writer, and you have story development that can be in there for like weeks or even months before
yeah.
eventually they go to shoot. So our stories in TV tend to be a bit way more developed
Mm,
because you're telling a lot of times it's 260 episodes. So of course you need to the story needs to
yeah.
keep the audience
Keep the
for that
audience.
long and the best part is especially in the days of social media where you create this show and you write a particular episode and the characters are trending on online because I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she did this. Oh, and then the
Yeah.
audience is like, they have that conversation. And you, the writers, you're like, mm.
It's hard expectations, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah,
no.
but that's a very rewarding feeling. No, or people meet you and be like, oh my god, I watched this. I love that show. I really love this character and stuff. Like, yeah, that's always a rewarding feeling because it means you did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Here we have Super Team 4 Netflix show.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The first. I mean, this was the first animation show I'd work on outside of my spec scripts, like in the learning, just learning to write for animation.
Hmm.
So at the time, now I remember when I was doing the animation course. I wasn't really sure where it would take me because I knew we didn't really have animation shows, especially in Nigeria. But I was like, and then this call came because Netflix was doing the first animation show and they wanted female African writers and everyone I knew sent me the link like, hey, that's you, just go. This has your name on it,
So they put
go.
it out. They put it out on LinkedIn. A call for Nigeria.
Everywhere it was
Oh,
it was
everywhere.
on social media. Yeah, like there was a
Okay.
call for African female writers
African.
because they wanted an all female African team because it's female
Yeah,
African
yeah.
superheroes. So there was a call and I think up to 180 people
Wow.
sent an application and then it was boiled down to the first 100 or the first 90 or something. But anyway, I eventually made the team.
Yeah. Well, do you
And
think that's
yeah.
large or small? 180 people. Do you, in your mind, is that for just I guess the continent of Africa? They were just reaching out.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and,
felt
and
like, well, at the time it felt like a lot, but now that I see like globally, I guess it wasn't that much.
yeah,
But as at then, it felt like a lot, and I don't. And the fact that
yeah.
I still made it in, I felt so grateful, really.
All right. Well, what was like I said as we go through? Uh, this is another. This looks like another good one.
Okay, so this I was co-head writer on this show last year, and he got nominated for an award over here for best writing.
So, what was this show about?
So this was about a village somewhere in East Africa, the Igbo tribe, where we have what we call masquerades, and then there's a lot of mysticism about it and stuff. So so it was about the masquerades of the name of the places of the particular god is Aniedo in that village and the things the drama around it and then of course the people of that village and the interactions and then just that whole thing. Yeah.
And is
So
this would this be considered drama, comedy,
yes, it was
comedy,
drama. It was
drama,
it was
drama? Okay,
drama. Yeah, mostly
okay,
drama. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, of course, there might be some comedic
Comedic
moments here
elements,
and there.
yeah, in
Yeah,
it, yeah.
yeah, but it was mostly drama. Yeah.
Well, obviously, like I said, that's kind of really, that show was really, like you said, indigenous to Africa. Do your friends or people that aren't from Africa that have seen it, do they get kind of the story of it, or
Yeah, they
are they
would.
still
Yeah,
able
they
to
would.
follow the story of it? Your friends that
Yeah,
aren't
because
native.
what we do in storytelling, especially here, we have to establish the world of story. And the same way you would understand Narnia is the way you would understand this world. The fact that it's based in a real life world is just
Yeah.
makes it more fascinating. So that I think, and that's why storytelling is so important, because you can tell any story about anywhere, as long as you understand that some people are probably being introduced to this world for the very first time, so they need to be introduced and educated about this world and the parameters. So there are tricks you can use, like maybe you have a character coming in from the outside. So the person is having the same sensibilities as someone that's watching the show and knows nothing of this world. And then we introduce this, oh, this is a masquerade, and these are the rules of this world, and this is what this person can do and can't do. And if he does this, there's consequences. So he shouldn't do this, and then he should. So we establish all that, and then we unfold the drama, because of course they're going to do things they're not supposed to do.
Of
That's why
course.
it's called.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
That's what makes
And
it
then
so
we show
good.
the
Yeah,
consequences and then
yeah.
the
You
drama.
show
And,
that's the
yeah.
whole arc of the story of
Yeah.
a story.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
and you, the
Well,
audience, you've never been there. You can't relate, but you are just engrossed because you're like, fascinating.
but that show, wasn't shown outside. Was it shown outside of Africa? And was it, if so, was it Was it subtitled or translated? For outside
I
of
think
Africa.
it was in English. I mean, it was subtitled because a lot of words were Igbo or Pidgin English, or so. I think there's always subtitles, but I think it was done on Showmax, which is shown in Africa. I think sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of African countries got to watch it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure anyone outside of Africa got to see it.
Gotcha. And do you feel like that? Obviously, the creator, is telling kind of the story from their perspective, whether it be, the characters, the dialect, and things like that. But
Yeah.
because Africa has so many, like you just said, even the continent or the country of Nigeria has that. Do
hmm
you find that that's a challenge in and of itself, kind of
I, s- I
pleasing?
see it. No, I see it as a good thing. It's almost
Mhm.
like you have this treasure trove of endless stories to tell. You can't run out of stories, because there are literally so many stories waiting to be told, which is why I get frustrated when a lot of times, because there's this thing that's going on now where they just pick on a particular subject matter and just stay there because they find that it works so well, so everyone wants to talk about this alone. I'm like, come on, there's so
Yeah,
many other stories waiting to be told, come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
But like the executives here as well, they also want to play it safe. They want to go with what has been known to work,
yeah,
and then they now flog it like a dead horse.
yeah.
Like the same
Trust
thing
me,
they do in
we
Hollywood,
get it
basically.
here too, and that's why I
Yeah.
always ask: do you feel, in saying that, do you feel like the change is going to come from those independent creators telling their own independent stories as
Yes.
opposed to
It's
those
and it's already happening.
executive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's happening already, because a lot of the stories that are breaking the mold are stories that were told independently, and then it just takes the world by storm, and
Um,
everyone is like, "Oh, this," and then the executives realize, "Oh, okay, that is selling. Okay, let's do some of that."
there's some money. There may be some money in here. Let me see how we can go. Trust me, follow the dollars. The executives
hmm
always follow the dollars. Companies follow
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
dollars. That's the bottom line for them is,
Yeah.
what's
And
the
everyone is
dollars?
playing it safe. No one wants to take a chance or take a risk
Yeah,
on
but
a new
man,
idea. Yeah.
well, see, that's why, and I think they do well at this because they're not like a big studio like Disney or Sony or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
this. I
So it's
think
easier
Netflix
to
is
take
real.
chance.
I think
Yeah,
Netflix really excels at this much
yeah,
better than
they
a
do.
lot of the other studios because they're smaller and able to take those
The
chances
risk.
on
Yeah,
those edgier stories that a studio like Disney or Sony is not going to touch, you know?
yeah,
So that's why I say there's so many platforms out there. Tubi, I love Tubi. For those of you who don't
yeah.
know, haven't checked out Tubi, you can watch some movies and TV shows for free and all of that. I love Tubi, but
Oh,
you do
okay.
have all these platforms now that are starving for content and looking for content, if not your
Mm.
own channel,
Mm.
YouTube channel, you
Yeah,
know. Now,
content
Tinsel,
is king now. Yeah.
now this looks like something like The Bold and the Beautiful or type of,
Yes. So
or like
this,
All My Children.
yes. Oh, so that was literally how it started. Like, and it was like South Africans coming in because they already had their soap operas in South Africa. So a lot of the originally the executives that came in and even the trainers and stuff. So I know if you watch the first season of Tinsel compared to the maybe the last few seasons, there's a vast difference because you could see the South African influence, and they are a bit more contained than we are. So
Hmm.
we had this, so it was weird because I remember the first time I watched the show, I wasn't on it then, where, okay, these are clearly Nigerians, but why are they talking funny? Why are they like, why are you being so cute? Mm-mm. Stop it.
And only a true Nigerian would pick that pick that
And
up.
that was it. That was how. So, but I think eventually what happened was I think they got that feedback, so they now started letting Nigeria, like them be, let's tell more
Yeah,
Nigerian-y kind of stories or more expressive things and stuff. Of course, bearing in mind that there's limitations being soap operas. There's some things you can't talk about, or there's some
yeah,
things you can't do. Age, rate. Oh, no, it's the age PG thing. So we started slowly becoming this, and we started having more characters that were more distinctly Nigerian, in terms of tribe or the way they talk, and then the show just, and it became this beautiful thing where you have the prim and proper with the people that we call the Ras people, and then it was just like I wish just made the stories more.
the typical soap opera. You got you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it was all good. Yeah,
Oh
that
man,
was
this looks so fun. I would love to check out some episodes. Like I said, I think it's always good to watch something. Like I said, watch some another country's humor, drama. Their sensibility of
yeah.
how they, like to watch stuff. You get a real fascinating perspective on it for sure. Oh man.
Yeah.
Uh, Sugar, MTV,
Yeah,
Sugar.
sugar. Yeah. So this was it was partly educational, but also partly was a thing
Mm-hmm.
NGO led, where we're trying to like reach the young people to educate them about sex and
Yeah,
health, health and so many things. I think the first one was in Kenya, because and then they did one in South Africa, I think, or
mm-hmm.
something, before they eventually came to Nigeria. And it was where you're targeting young people of high school age,
Yeah,
educating them about, because trying to combat things like teen pregnancy and diseases, and then the drug use, and just so you have a show that they can relate with, and they can key into and learn proper behavior, and learn that, okay,
yeah.
no, if you find yourself in this situation, this is what you can do, and things like that. So it's entertaining, but at the same time it's educative.
Educational.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice, nice. Um, you have to talk about, kind of that. I won't say elephant in the room, but it's the hot topic, AI, and obviously,
Oh,
what you do, um, screenwriting, um, obviously is AI is bled into that as well, along with everything else. Kind of what's been your thought on AI and just the rise of
mm,
AI within the industry, and especially as it pertains to what you do.
yeah. For me, I'm not worried about AI. That's me personally because I've seen the AI stuff that's out there. AI cannot make me laugh. I'm sorry. I'm yet to see an AI like even the AI art. Like let's forget the right. Like even AI art, it looks like AI.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, there's something generic about it. Like it doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't feel like it came from a human being. So there's that authenticity about it that's just not there.
Yeah.
So and that's for visuals, which you can even get away with now. For stories, it's not connecting at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you can't connect with your audience, you don't have them. And so
No.
far, the AI stories that I've seen don't connect. So they don't even connect emotionally. Talk less of making me laugh. So I'm safe. Yeah, I'm not.
Hey, no, I
Yeah, it's not
agree.
taking my job anytime soon. So I'm not.
Nah.
But AI is useful. Especially, I think it's useful more for like when you're writing things like a thesis or project or reports and things like that, where it helps to take care of all the tedious stuff or
Yeah.
details that you may have missed or correct your English or the proper way to put things together
Yeah.
when you're writing reports. AI could be useful there.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it does have its place. But
Yeah.
in terms of like creativity, you're connecting with your audience or the heart or the emotion of it. Nah. So the way I see it, AI will separate the good writers from the bad writers. You
Yeah.
only worry about AI as a storyteller if you're a bad one.
Yeah. No. No, I agree. I believe AI will never take the place of that human touch,
Yeah.
human perspective, for sure.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, I think it's great for those tedious tasks. I think it's great for ideation, just coming up with just different ideas. But you're gonna need to obviously do it's not gonna create it for you, but it's good to kind of use it as kind of like a sounding board. I think
Yeah. Or
for
maybe
that.
generate some
Yeah,
ideas for you to like
generational
build
things.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that you
but
build
not
on.
to tell. Yeah, it can't write that
Now,
heartfelt story for
yeah,
you. Like,
can't write you.
who's gonna
Can't
watch
put the.
an AI story and want to cry?
But the thing is, man, they are trying. There's people out there that are trying to craft that first full AI this or first
No,
full
sure, they can try,
AI
which is
that,
fine.
and like I said, I just
Wh-
don't feel it's gonna come anywhere close to that human touch.
Yeah, I mean they can try. I mean, and stories are out there all the time, and people keep putting out stories. So yeah, I mean that's not going to change.
Yeah. There is a huge growing market for lyrical soap opera and dramas in the U.S. that many are underestimating. Soap opera. Yeah. Are soap operas still the big thing? They used to be like soap
No, I
opera.
think they
They used to
are
be,
because I know that in
yeah.
the UK, for example, I think is it
Now I
Holby
know
City or
novellas like
East.
his Hispanic novellas are really big. I know,
Yeah,
um, but like
I think
our
they still
soap
have.
operas
Yeah.
that were like on TV, I don't know if they're so much like they used to be back in the day when I was growing up.
Mm,
Like I said, they had so many soap operas. My
yeah,
mom was constantly watching TV, geez, type of thing. Uh,
yeah, and yeah, like Jerry says, Asian soap operas. Like even I think I was following a few. My daughter is seriously into K
yeah,
dramas, and I know people that are obsessed. Like that's all they watch, K dramas,
K
because the
dramas,
stories
yeah.
are just so different from Hollywood stories,
Yeah, and
and
that's
it's
why I
just
say it's a
yeah,
good thing to watch other countries' TV because you'll get an idea of their, like I said, their drama, their comedy, their new. You'll just get a good idea of the country if you watch what they're
yeah,
watching, type of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh, Miracle. Oh, okay. Miracle soap opera on mobile apps. Yeah, yeah, I would guess
Yeah.
so. And that's the thing. Like I said, now if you are that type of person that is into soap opera and likes creating soap opera shorts, you could put you up your YouTube channel. Like I said, put you up your
Yeah.
YouTube channel and go viral.
Yes. So that's what's so over here. A lot of Nigerian actors or even producers are creating their own YouTube channels where they're having millions of views.
Yeah,
Just a lot of times you just put in the, well, relatively speaking, low budget film and
yeah,
just put it on YouTube, and you just get your tons of views. So it's a new thing now where they don't even bother doing films for cinema. They just do it straight for
yeah.
YouTube. So that's a growing thing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why I said this is a great time as a content creator because you got your own channels now to put
Yeah.
to reach the mass. Now, it's true. This is a worldwide show. I can honestly say that this show
Yes,
is worldwide because
yes, of course.
people all over the world. Well, it feels funny because you think that this is I'm not distributed, but that's the beauty of being online. You have a worldwide audience, and that's the thing I
Yes.
love. I have a worldwide audience, and you have that at your fingertips now with all these channels and stuff now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
trust me, if like I said, if you monetize it right, you don't necessarily have to go to just a big
Yeah.
distribution company or anything like that. For
It's
you,
it's yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm actually thinking of create like it's something that's been on my mind since, to just create a YouTube channel and start creating um content and put it out there. But I
Yeah,
think for me, I'm maybe I'm getting in my own way because I've been a writer for so long. So, but like Jerry says, I know, like I feel like I will make a good director. So I'm trying to push myself to take that step to go into it. Like
yeah,
maybe I need someone to just like knock me on my head, like do it already.
yeah. And the beauty of it, which is
Yeah.
why, like I said, this is. I mean, the industry is big, but it's small, and people know each other. Animators. People that you can say, "Hey, let's start a web
Yes.
series. Let's do a web series."
Yes, I
Or
do.
do.
Yeah, I actually have a friend that we he's an animator, great guy, Shegun Samson, and we created this show together, and we've been pitching it around. He's in Canada now.
Yeah.
So there is, so I mean, and I'm meeting a lot of animators and artists. There's a lady that she does stop motion, the only Nigerian lady that does stop
Esther?
motion right now.
Esther?
Oh, come on. Really?
That's my girl. Esther's my girl, man. Esther's my
I was being so curious. I was like, oh, there's this lady. We're like, Esther, like,
Esther, baby. Esther,
Esther,
baby.
Esther, where have you not been in this life?
She's been, hey, Esther's been, I got to have Esther back on. I loved Esther. And that was the thing
Oh
that, like I said, that was the thing that stood out for me with Esther. It was like, I hadn't met too many stop motion, people from over in Africa. So, like I said, what she's doing with stop motion, that's why I love
yeah,
people. That's why I love doing this show because I've met some amazing creators.
yeah, right.
Uh,
It's such a small world.
it
Wow.
is.
So
That's,
me, her, and then there's another animator, Dami. We've been talking about, like, we want to create this series of this series and just put it out there, of course, in the kids space and stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, we're still talking about it, but I know eventually we're gonna have to just do something and just put it out there.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, that's just such the beauty of it. And that's the beauty
Yeah.
of building relationships because you can collaborate on so many things. That's why I love the friends that I've made because it allows me to help them or to collaborate with them on things. And it's a collaborative thing. This industry is collaborative. Nobody does it alone,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, no
You
one
may
does it
try it,
alone.
but you're not going to get too far if you try to do it alone. Uh, let's
Oh, Jerry says we have
We
development
have
fund now. Really?
development
Okay,
funds, by
Jerry,
the
me
way.
and you, we need to talk after this.
Jerry. Oh man, that's good to know. That is good to know, Jerry. Because like I
Yes,
said, man, when
yes.
I have an idea or that, yeah, I'm gonna be coming to you for sure. But I love what Jerry's doing with, Al Roker Entertainment and the
Yeah,
stuff that he's doing there. So Jerry
yeah, I was
definitely
so
gotta have you back
blessed to be
on.
part of that. Like, I was like, that for me was huge. So thank you, Jerry.
Awesome, awesome, Jerry. Gotta have you back on. Again, everybody just joining in, man. We've been having an amazing, fun conversation. Oh, going on an hour
Yeah.
and a half. we're rocking and
Yeah, and
rolling.
I want to say something about like the show Weather Hunters, because I mean it's out now, so I can talk
Yeah,
more
yeah,
about it. Like, I'm the only African on the show, and they were like, so when I had the first meeting with them and stuff like that, and because it's about the weather, right? So they were
yeah.
like, okay, so what's the weather like? What do you guys what do you guys call your winter in Nigeria? And I laughed because every Nigeria winter, like we don't have winter. We have rainy season, so it was almost like, and you could see they were fascinated. So because of that, they had to do like an extra episode where they talk about the Nigerian weather. That's how
Oh,
fascinated
but
they were.
see, that is the power of
Yeah.
educating because you wouldn't have known that. Hey, we don't have winter. It's wet and it's dry here. That's what
Fun
we
fact:
deal
I
with.
have never seen snow.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I have
Well,
never seen
yeah. I mean,
snow.
if you haven't been on, like, and trust me, like I said, even though I'm here in Houston, I'm from up north. I don't like I can't do the cold like I used to. So that's why I moved down here. But even down here, we get some snow. And we had some a couple of weeks ago. So interesting though. But see, like I said, that's
No.
you wouldn't know that unless you, like I said, just made friends with people outside of your
Yeah.
space. I still have
Yeah,
that
Jerry was in
meeting
that meeting. Yeah, he
recorded
was
on
in
my
that.
hard drive.
Yeah.
Oh man, y'all got a lot of catching up to do. I see, for
Yeah, like it
sure.
was good times.
Oh
Yeah.
man, what's been kind of you've been like I said in this industry for a little bit. What's been kind of the best piece of advice that you've been given that somebody gave you?
It's weird because I remember the very first time I met someone, he's a screenwriter, and I told him, um, I want to be a writer. And he said, if you want to be a writer, write. And that was 16 years. Like, it sounds silly
Yeah,
because we do this thing where we talk about what we want, but we don't do it.
do it. Yeah,
So I actually had to sit down and write stuff. Like it's going to be crap at first. Write the crap because the crap can be worked on.
yeah,
Your ideas in your head can't be worked on. You need to put it down. So I started out just writing anything. Just someone's did a song. I just wrote the thing for it. I watched the show. I like this show. I'm going to write an imaginary episode of that show, even though they never get to see it, and just write. And then any opportunity you get, which is why I mean I was in the drama unit of the church, and I started writing plays for free. Like,
yeah,
and I think, which leads me to the next thing: whatever it is you want to do, do it because don't worry about the money. Just do it because you're passionate about it. Do it for free
yeah,
at first. And because what's going to happen is they will exploit you, they will use you, but guess what? They will sharpen you and hone you to the point where they can't use you for free anymore. And then they have to pay you. And then it gets to a point where you become so good that you can dictate your fees. Like I remember the very first show I wrote on was like very little money, and but I was happy. I was just happy to write on an existing TV show, and it was
yeah,
this was before Tinsel. Like I was just so happy to write on that show, and that gave me practice. That by the time I got to do a pitch for Tinsel, they liked me so much they snapped me up immediately because I'd been doing all these other things for peanuts or free.
yeah.
So and then so what happens is like that original person that hired me, maybe when he gets it, he'll be like, oh, we know because here's what they tell me now. Oh, we know we can't afford you again because you're this big writer.
Yeah, you're right. You can't afford.
But once upon a time, guess what?
Once
I was
upon a time.
grateful to be used by like
Yeah,
so it sounds, if especially if you're coming up, if you're new, just be happy to be exploited because it's helping you hone your talents, and the more you work, the more you get to, it's almost see it like like an internship sort of, where you're learning on the job and you're growing and you're developing your skills. It's to get to a point, if you are good at what you do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, there was somebody that he really good business person. I love listening to his content. He said, "Yeah, it's good to start there, but don't stay there for too long. Quickly learn
Yeah,
your value. Quickly learn the value of what your talents are, so you're not staying in that space of giving
yeah.
away your work and doing stuff for the cheap um, type of thing." So. Great advice. I agree with Jerry. Great advice. And you know how I like to do it on great advice. Bombs. I got to drop a bomb. That was great advice. For sure. Like I said, I want to ask you, this has been a great conversation, and definitely there's so much more that we get into, and definitely the opportunity to have you back on the show, Omo, for sure. But I do want to ask you, because I am curious about kind of the pitching process and how you've kind of gotten yourself familiar with being comfortable in front of executives trying to sell your story, your idea type of thing. Kind of speak a little bit about, just how you've kind of gotten better at that whole storytelling and selling your story.
Well, a lot of times, if you're pitching on an existing show, you don't have to pitch physically. You just submit your story ideas, and then um, they will pick whatever it is they like. So you don't have to. I've so far I haven't been where I have to like verbally pitch
Yeah.
and do that. But
For those
even
ones that you create, though, for those stories that are original for you that you're trying to get, I guess, done or, sold or made.
yeah. Um, Even that, it was still like we submitted it and then eventually we would meet afterwards. And if they liked it, we would ask questions about it. So the one thing that I have learned is it all comes from you. If you are passionate about your story, it would translate. Because if you're not passionate about it or you're not excited about it and it doesn't show, then
Yeah.
it doesn't really
Yeah.
no, the executive was like, okay, maybe the story is not, but
It's
if
not
they
going
see how
anywhere.
yeah, but if they see how excited you are about the story and how like that would really help go a long way to be like, oh, okay, this story must be really interesting. They have
Yeah.
this or they have that, or you need to get the executives to feel some kind of emotion
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, this would be great, this would be great. But if it's just, which is why sometimes it's not by words or like, oh, being cute with big words, like, nah,
Yeah.
I don't know. And
Yeah.
it depends on what kind of show,
Yeah.
the target audience and all that. Yeah.
No, I agree because it's funny. I would watch and I saw like which I highly always encourage people to watch like the making of or behind the scenes of stuff because you'll really get a sense. But I was watching
Mm-hmm.
like I can't remember which one. I think it was Finding Nemo, behind the scenes. But they were showing um, he was showing his initial storyboard pitch to all the other directors and how he was saying, you got to come in animated and really animated and really sell your story
Yeah.
so that they get it and they understand it. So you come in and so you see them acting out the whole movie while they're telling the story. So it goes into, like you were saying, you have to be really passionate about your own, story, especially those stories that you're putting together um and building yourself because you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to get anybody on board your team if they don't see that you're passionate about the project that you're trying to
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
that you're trying to produce. And trust me, I've had a couple of people approach me to, hey, I'm putting this project together, we need some design work, and they're not like really passionate and organized about it, and so you're like, okay, it falls through the cracks. So, like I said, you can see the ones that are really passionate about seeing their idea, come to fruition, whether you're on board or not. Those are the ones that are really, you see you want to be on board with because you see that they're getting their thing done. They're doing all the things
Mm.
that they need to get their piece out there, whether it's getting the artist, whether it's putting together the Kickstarter, whether it's recording all the videos, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're serious about doing it and getting out there. So those are the ones that are easier to get people to, one, get on board their project, and two, support their project financially,
Yes.
type of
Yes.
thing.
Exactly.
So it's very, very, that's how we did it at Disney. Yeah. That's what I loved about, I'm pretty sure all of them the same way, but I did love that about Pixar, because Pixar is probably one of the better companies that I felt like was just story. Their thing was story.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Pixar stories were like,
Yeah, they start with story. And if it's not a
yeah.
good story, it doesn't go
Oh,
anywhere. And if
yeah.
they have to take a couple of years to get the story right, it's the story. That's why it's very few. They're probably the only studio that's had #1 hits every movie they put out. Very few.
Because of attention to story.
Yeah, because of their attention to story. Now it's gotten a little lax since Disney bought them, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, still good. Still good. Not like they were when they were just Pixar and solely owned. I will say that. They aren't like that. People like that I just got with a big fee. Wait, people like that I just got with a big fee, and the fee size snaps into seriousness, or they bounce. Yeah, that'll definitely shake out the serious people. When you give them a price, and you give them a high price, and a price that, hey, that'll definitely move the tire kickers along for sure.
Yep.
Oh man, like I said, as we kind of close this conversation, this has been an amazing conversation. Again, I always have to especially thank my African guests and my guests over in time differences that are way different than here, because I know it's kind of getting late there for sure. So I can't thank you enough, Omo, for one, being on the show and being a part of
This has
the
been a
color.
big pleasure.
This has been fun. It really has. And like I said, I didn't even scratch the surface of half the questions that I had, put together. I really didn't. That's what I'm trying to get better at kind of sticking through the format. But then, like I told you, I like the show to be kind of just natural and free forming. So questions just come up in my head, and I'm looking at my questions. You didn't get to any of these questions here to try and do. So, but that makes the show so much better. And like I said, I cannot thank you enough for being a part. And hey, we got through this episode, relatively pretty good. No major hiccups or anything like that. So I'm pretty good. You might be good luck on that. This might be a good sign here, because like I said, no technical difficulties, none of that stuff. So thank you, Omo. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. Like, you just invited me to talk about what I love most, and getting me to shut up is the problem.
Hey, me too. Obviously, I'm the same way, and definitely, like I said, you're a part of the Color of Motion family, and we always love family coming back home. So you're always welcome back home, and we love you being a part of this. Mr. Jerry, appreciate you, brother, for showing up,
thank
supporting.
you so much, Jerry. And
supporting.
I will be in your inbox soon.
She will be in your inbox since you got funds available. So you put it out there, Jerry. You got funds available. Will this be posted as a recording? Yes, it will be up on the YouTube channel. For sure, for people to watch. It will be up by this weekend. I usually tell my guests after the show, I usually take tomorrow, the next day, Sunday, to put all the show notes and put it up on the playlist. So by Monday, it will be up on the channel for you to share with the masses, and definitely help it to reach even further. So thank you for that. All right, Omo, like I said, this has been a blast for sure, and I cannot wait to have you back on the show.
Me
definitely.
too. Thank you
If you
so much.
could
Thank you.
hang out in the green room for a second, I know it's late. If you could hang
Okay.
out for just one more
No,
second
no,
while
it's
I
fine.
close out the show, so I could talk
Okay.
to you afterwards. But again,
All right, cool.
everybody, please help me thank again my very special guest and friend, Miss Omotunde Akiode.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hang out for a second, Omo. Guys, gals, this has been another fun episode. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed it. Like I was telling Omo, I didn't even get to half the stuff that I wanted to talk to her about. So definitely that gives us the opportunity to have her back on the show and have her come back home. So, like I said, this has been a fun episode. Definitely, if you came in on the tail end of it, make sure that you do go to the channel when it's up there and check out this whole episode because this was a fun one. Omo brought a lot of great information, a lot of great laughs too. Like I said, she loves comedy, so we had a fun time laughing and talking, and definitely don't want you to miss out on that. So, like I said. All her information. Ooh, man. Let me I'm gonna jump over. You know what? I'm gonna jump over here. I can do it right here. I'm gonna do it right here. Because I didn't get a chance to do it a minute ago after I showed her work. But definitely oops. Where's it at? Hold on. Where is it? So it's not showing. Oh, maybe because I have to be on this scene. Jeez. Okay, I'm gonna go to this scene. I'm gonna bring Omo back. So
Okay.
because she's on this scene, make sure that you connect with Omo. I wanted to make sure I did that. Put out her
Oh,
information,
okay.
even though this is going to be on the show notes. I do always do this. Connect with her on Facebook. She's on Instagram. You can check her out on X, Twitter. She's
Yeah.
on there. Obviously, like Jerry said, and like I said, we connected with her on LinkedIn. You can find her on LinkedIn as well. So definitely, like I said, all this stuff will be on the show notes. So definitely connect with her there. Okay. With that, I'm gonna close this one out. Like I said, close this out. Definitely, I hope you enjoyed this and had a great time like I did. Man, season 5 is just this first quarter has been fire. Definitely been fire, and all the guests that have come by the show has just been bringing it. So man, it's hard to believe that January's done and we're trucking along through February. So it's going to be a great episode. Next week is going to be no exception. Next week's going to really be a fun episode. I'm really looking forward to this one. My next guest, Ray Billingsley, syndicated cartoonist of Curtis, the comic strip Curtis. And if anybody anybody knows me, that is my original love. That was my original love and just incentive for getting into art in the first place was comic strips. And so having him on, and it's been a long time. Been trying to get Ray on since season 1. So 5 years to get the brother on the show, but I'm super looking forward to it because everybody knows I have a soft spot for cartoonists and comic strip artists, and I am definitely looking forward to diving into a conversation with him. So, like I said, you're not going to want to miss next week when we have Mr. Ray Billingsley come join the studio and the family. So don't miss out. Miss Maggie, appreciate you as always. I know you love the show, and I appreciate you. I love you for supporting it as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody else that stopped by and tuned in, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, with that, have a great rest of the weekend. Have a great and productive week, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.